2025. For the second day in a row, new COVID-19 cases in the Philippines zoom past 2,000. A health expert is warning a new strain of the virus could be more infectious by as much as 9 times. Commuting experience in the metro is bound to get more difficult. MRT3 operations will shut down starting tomorrow as close to 200 personnel, including station staff, test positive for COVID-19. After weeks of discussions, finally lawmakers are down to their last agenda in ABS-CBN's franchise saga, the network's alleged biased reporting. And reciting a Filipino version of Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator's speech, celebrities and personalities make a collective stand against the anti-terror law.
Magkaisa tayo.
Magkaisa tayo.
Magkaisa tayo.
Magkaisa tayo.
Magkaisa tayo.
Let's begin with the controversial anti-terrorism law now facing several petitions at the Supreme Court. More groups are expected to challenge the measure in the coming days. Del De Vera with the story.
Barely a week after President Duterte signed the anti-terror law, 4 petitioners have already lined up at the Supreme Court. First to file their petition Monday morning is a group led by law professor Howard Calleja and former Education Secretary Brother Armin Luistro. The group initially made a digital submission on Saturday.
We are not fighting this government, we are fighting the constitutionality of this law.
They seek to void at least 11 sections of the law, including the supposed vague definition of what constitutes a terrorist act.
Hindi pa nga naiisa batas ng tuluyan, nakikita na natin na ang pangamba, ang takot, ang pagtatanggal ng mga post, kahit legitimate, no? Yung mga hate post, iba yun. Ang tinasabi natin, kapag talagang gusto nating suportahan ng gobyerno, kailangan marinig nila hindi lamang yung magagandang sinasabi.
Law professors from the Far Eastern University, led by Dean Attorney Mel Santamaria, also asked for a temporary restraining order, arguing that the newly signed measure could curtail academic freedom.
Ang final namin, yung petition for certiorari para ibasura ang Anti-Terrorism Act. Ang sabi namin, yung Section 25 particular at yung Section 29 particular rin na pwedeng dakipin ang mga tao sa pamamagitan lamang ng suspetsa ay hindi makatarungan at labag sa saligang batas. Ang tawag dyan, prior restraint ng freedom of speech na apektuhan rin ang academic freedom.
First District of Albay Representative Edsel Lagman also questioned the legality of the entire anti-terror law. He's the first lawmaker to challenge before the High Court what he calls a law replete with constitutional infirmities. The Makabayan bloc at the lower house meanwhile submitted their petition just before noon. Among the much criticized provisions of the measure are the vague definition of a terrorist, as well as the creation of an anti-terror council or ATC composed of representatives from the executive branch. The ATC is authorized to designate people as terrorists and have their assets frozen.
Malinaw na itong terror bill na ito gagamitin ng Administrasyong Duterte para supilin ang karapatan ng mga mamamayan.
4 more groups are expected to submit their petitions in the coming days. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara welcomes the challenges against the anti-terror law. He said the court's ruling will guide the DOJ and the ATC in the preparation of its implementing rules. For News 5, Dale De Vera, We Are One News.
Malacanang is defending the anti-terrorism law. Palace spokesman Harry Roque insists the measure has no cause for concern, especially for non-terrorists, as it has enough safeguards to protect human rights.
Kung feeling nyo ay kayo ay pag-iinita ng walang dahilan, meron po tayong writ of amparo, no, to protect the right to life, no, and liberty. So sapat-sapat po ang remedyo, nandiyan na po yan. Terrorists, beware of the anti-terror law. Pero yung mga hindi naman po mga terorista, wag po kayo mag-alala. Sapat-sapat po ang mga safeguards sa batas mismo at sa ating umiiral na rules of court para pangalagaan po ang kalayaan ng ang karapatan ng kalayaan at karapatang mabuhay.
Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Sal Panelo took a swipe at Vice President Leni Robredo, one of the staunchest critics of the measure. Robredo earlier criticized the law's railroading in the middle of a pandemic. After meeting with President Rodrigo Duterte on Friday, the policemen involved in the shooting incident in Jolo were up for detention in Metro Manila. But COVID-19 hampered their travel. Marlene Alcaide has details.
The 9 policemen tagged in Jolo's shooting incident were supposed to be transferred to Camp Crame over the weekend. But the move has been postponed after one of the men tested positive for COVID-19 via rapid testing. Last Friday, the embattled cops went through testing before meeting President Duterte. The sole positive case has to test negative in an RT-PCR test within the week before they are flown to Manila.
Preemptive, hindi na siya pwedeng isama sa Manila kasi sasakay kami sa C-130 lahat, no? Together with the SALG, the NBI, and me. So, minabuti ng Air Force na wag nang payagan i-transport kasi kahit ibalot namin ng PPE, naka-encounter niya na yung 8.
While the PNP awaits the result, the NBI is gathering more evidence for the case. 7 witnesses have already testified.
7 sworn statements from witnesses. And when I say witnesses, these are not the expert witnesses, but people who were able to witness in one way or another the incident.
The NBI is also examining the CCTV footage that made the rounds online last week. In one of the videos, a police mobile is seen following the soldiers. The actual shooting was not captured, but a video shows passers-by apparently running away from the crime scene.
We have to authenticate kung itong mga footages ay genuine at hindi tampered.
NBI says 3 of the 4 bodies tested negative for gunpowder, which may imply that the soldiers did not pull their firearms trigger. The PNP assures full cooperation in the investigation.
Of course, I give you my protection to some extent, pero we should participate and we should cooperate fully with NBI. Kasi kung ang ginawa nyo naman tama, then wala kayong worry. Pero syempre, pag mali, then mananagot talaga kayo.
We honor their statements na magko-cooperate sila and I hope they will cooperate. But if not, then we will proceed with the investigation.
In the meantime, the police and the armed forces are conducting an operational review of their tactical and strategic procedures through their Inspector General counterparts. Gamboa explains that it was the lack of coordination that resulted in the killing of 4 soldiers in Jolo. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
The Philippine Coast Guard has filed charges against officials of Hong Kong flag cargo vessel MV Vienna Wood and its shipping company. The vessel's captain and 3 other key officers are facing complaints of reckless imprudence resulting in multiple homicide and damage to property. Meanwhile, the PCG continues its retrieval operations for the 14 passengers aboard the sunken fishing vessel Liberty 5. They are, however, waiting for recommendations to determine if the search should be stopped.
We will assess our position tomorrow if the situation warrants already the termination of the active search and retrieval, then we'll do that. But it does not necessarily mean na wala nang may iwan ng mga Coast Guard personnel at mga rescue personnel.
We'll pause for a short break, but when the big story returns after a record-setting 2,400 cases on Sunday, country logs more than 2,000 cases yet again. The palace attributes the surge to a more intensified testing. And commuters, listen up, a new rise in infections among its personnel forces the MRT-3 management to cease operations for now. I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. A day after reporting its highest single-day spike in COVID-19 cases, the Philippines has logged more than 2,000 new cases yet again. Today, the Health Department tallied nearly 2,100 infections, that's slightly lower than yesterday's record of more than 2,400. Over 1,200 of the new cases are fresh, 800 are late. That pushes the country's case count to 46,333. The DOH also reported 6 new deaths, bringing the death toll to more than 1,300. With 243 new recoveries in the past 24 hours, there are now more than 12,000 Filipinos who have gotten better from COVID-19. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the surge in cases is due to a more intensified testing and the easing of quarantine protocols. Roque notes, however, that the pandemic in the country is still manageable, especially with mortality rate remaining low.
Marami po ang kinabahan sa ulat na ito na maging kami ay nalungkot nang una naming narinig ito. Ngunit kung hindi po tayo dapat panghinaan ng loob, tuloy po ang laban.
An infectious disease expert, meanwhile, is urging the public to not let their guard down. In a Facebook post, Dr. Edsel Salvana pointed out a supposed change in the novel coronavirus, making it, he said, spread even faster. He added that the virus is about 3 to 9 times more infectious than the previous variant. Now, heads up to commuters, expect no MRT3 operations this week. This is while expanded testing for all trained personnel are being done following news of over 100 staff being infected. Gerard de la Peña has the details.
The MRT3 management is temporarily shutting down operations starting Tuesday, July 7 until possibly Saturday, July 11. This is after nearly 200 of its personnel tested positive for COVID-19. This is also to give way for the swab testing of all of its employees. As of Monday, there were 186 MRT employees who turned out positive for COVID-19, affecting train operations. Lines going up to the MRT North Avenue station reached as far as West Avenue on Monday morning. The trains, which can only carry half of its original capacity due to social distancing protocols, were reduced to just 11 trains from as much as 19 last week. Despite this, some passengers still opted to take the MRT, even amid news of confirmed COVID-19 cases.
Sa palaran na po, wala po masakyan na iba eh.
The bus augmentation service, which was increased to 90 units from just 60 last week, offered little help to passengers since the buses only stop at select stations.
Dapat maglagay sila ng in-between. Lalo sa Cubao, marami kasi pasahero doon. Kasi marami nakaano dyan na bus, hindi naman mapupuno kaagad.
Malacanang earlier said it was not keen on suspending the MRT's operations, saying proper disinfection is the key.
It's a matter of disinfecting the MRTs at kung maayos na po yung mga sigalot na kaunti sa technical operations, po pwede naman pong bumalik yan sa 50% capacity.
To ensure passenger safety, the MRT management required its personnel to wear PPEs. Social distancing is also strictly observed on the platform. Trains are also being disinfected upon reaching North and Taft Avenue stations. The train management said employees who tested positive were quarantined in different government facilities such as the World Trade Center in Pasay, the Philippine Arena, and PhilSports Arena. The additional testing of MRT3 personnel will be conducted by the Philippine Coast Guard. The MRT3 management meanwhile says the duration of the suspension will still depend on the number of personnel that will be able to go to work after being cleared of the virus. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Transport authorities are looking at additional subsidies to aid jeepney drivers as some remain apprehensive about plying the roads despite the go signal to operate again. JC Cosico with that story.
It's been 4 days since the kings of the road have been allowed back on the streets of Metro Manila. Covering 49 routes, more than 6,000 so-called roadworthy traditional jeepney units were given the green light to ply NCR streets. But to this day, they remain far and few in between. At the Boni Calentong route, only around 5 PUJs were seen at around 7:30 Monday morning. That's why passengers like Jake Mendoza waited for about half an hour just to catch a ride.
May mga jeep naman nakikita kaso konti-paunti-unti lamang eh. Tapos punuan lagi, gano'n, kaya mahirap.
Over in this terminal in Quezon City, health protocols are observed, such as a fare collection system to avoid cross-contamination. Some drivers were also busy installing plastic barriers. Drivers plying the Quezon Avenue Santa Mesa route may be struggling, but it's better than none, they said.
Kahit paano, siguro makabili-bili naman ng mga pang-ulam, siguro.
Tiis-tiis na lang muna.
Opo, sir. Tiis-tiis na lang po.
Transport officials said the number of routes and units plying metro roads may still be modified depending on passenger demand.
Ang approach natin dyan is calibrated and gradual. Remember, ang iniiwasan natin is yung COVID-19 pa rin, transmission. So that's why yun, ganun kabagal ang ginagawa natin as far as public transportation is concerned.
As if there's a possibility for a fare increase, transport officials say they're looking at other options to help jeepney drivers.
Ang tinitingnan lang namin is mabigyan sila ng ayuda in terms of fuel subsidy. That's one. Tapos yung ibang in-explore namin possibility is magkaroon ng parang service contract na babayaran ng gobyerno yung operator ng jeepney.
Authorized jeepney units plying metro roads will have either displayed or installed QR codes. But the LTFRB temporarily allowed jeepneys without QR codes to operate while they fix their website's technical problems. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
These are the other big stories today. PNP Chief Archie Gamboa is giving the PNP Internal Affairs Service 15 days to take action on 2 Ilocos Sur policemen over their alleged involvement in the rape slay of a 15-year-old girl. The Ilocos Sur Police earlier filed murder charges against Police Senior Sergeants Randy Ramos and Marawi Torda. Fisher's Group Pamalakaya is warning that the oil spill off the waters of Iloilo City is threatening the livelihood of fisherfolk in some parts of the Visayas. The group fears that the damage might reach the Guimaras Strait and the Visayas Sea, affecting fishermen in Negros Occidental, Masbate, and eastern and western Visayas. The Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation has paid DPWH 4.37 billion pesos as part of the second tranche of the concession fees for the Cavite-Laguna Expressway, or CALAX. The payment was personally handed over by MPTC Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan. Last May, MPTC advanced its tax payments of 1 billion pesos to the BIR to help the government's fundraising efforts amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, we thought that we should help out by advancing the payment for the premium, the bidding premium, which on the basis of which we won the bid for CALAX.
Coming up on the big story, finally, lawmakers are expected to vote on ABS-CBN's franchise within the week as deliberations reach their final stretch. And protesting the enactment of the anti-terror law, personalities lend their voices as they read a direct translation of Charlie Chaplin's speech in the movie The Great Dictator.
CBN this Wednesday once lawmakers finish their discussion.
This is the big story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Lawmakers in the lower house are nearing the end of their hearings on ABS-CBN's franchise. But as deliberations continue, more and more issues and hard feelings towards the network are still getting dug up. Ria Fernandez reports to us live from Batasang Pambansa. Ria, what's the scope of today's franchise hearing and what seems to be the consensus among the representatives?
Robbie, the House joint panels are down to the last issue hurled against the ABS-CBN, and that is the network's alleged bias. But as they wrap up their proceedings to vote for the media giant's bid for a franchise, some lawmakers took a swipe at those who criticized them on how they conduct their hearings. Even before lawmakers get to tackle ABS-CBN's supposed biased reporting, anak kalusugan Representative Mike Defensor took a different turn, questioning the media giant's position paper. The said document mentioned Defensor's statement during an interview with 1PH, where he suggested that the firm temporarily forego the airing of its news and public affairs shows to avoid influencing committee hearings. For Defensor, the paper made it seem like he was pushing for the said division's immediate closure.
Baka naman po pwede dahil nga nagrereklamo si Congressman Dante Marcoleta, Congressman Boying Rimulya, siguro wala na muna yung sa News and Public Affairs Division not to silence the News and Public Affairs Division but to allow the DJ box to continue.
ABS-CBN President and CEO Carlo Katigbak apologized to Defensor.
Please allow us to review the statement, and if it needs to be corrected, we will submit a revised version.
As for the hearing's main agenda, ABS-CBN News Chief Jing Reyes admitted shortcomings but said that they are trying to put out fair and balanced reporting.
Journalism as public service. Every reporter, writer, producer, anchor, every editor in the newsroom knows that what we do is not just a job. It is a response to a call to tell the truth and work for a cause greater than ourselves.
Veteran broadcaster Kata Inocencio also defended her former mother's station.
Have never been instructed to play favorites, nor to slant stories in favor or against anyone, nor to play partisan politics.
In a separate interview, House Speaker Alan Cayetano said they have been open and transparent in conducting the past 12 hearings on ABS-CBN's franchise. He said he will just submit in writing his testimony on the network's alleged bias during the 2016 elections. Robbie, at this point, ABS-CBN is being quizzed anew for its failure to air political advertisements of some politicians, including that of President Rodrigo Duterte last 2016 elections. ABS-CBN President and CEO Carlo Katigbak said that it was due to their first-come, first-served policy. He also clarified that the apology they issued to the president was because of their delay of reimbursing the president's payment over the unaired political advertisements. Meanwhile, the House Legislative Franchises Committee may finally decide on the fate of the ABS-CBN's franchise this coming Wednesday. Robbie?
Maraming salamat, News 5 Ria Fernandez reporting live from the House of Representatives. Meralco has apologized to their customers for the bill shock that they experienced upon receiving their bills. In a Senate hearing, Meralco President Ray C. Espinosa said the company is planning to send personalized letters to all consumers to explain the bill they received. Espinosa also assured Meralco's customers that they will not be charging beyond actual consumption.
They are not being billed in addition to what they have actually consumed. As I have made it very clear to everybody, it is not Meralco's business to charge our customers beyond what they've actually consumed. The law and the regulation authorizes us to charge customers only on the basis of what has been actually consumed.
More than 200 scientists in 32 countries claim that COVID-19 is airborne. In an open letter to the World Health Organization, the experts outline evidence supposedly showing that virus particles in the air can infect people. With this, they are calling on the WHO to revise its recommendations on the pandemic. The WHO is now reviewing the study. A group of personalities from various sectors have joined a protest video against the newly enacted anti-terror law. Kapamilya actor John Lloyd Cruz led the group in reciting a Filipino version of Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator speech. Other participants include former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, Director Lav Diaz, lawyer Chel Diokno, and journalist Maria Ressa. The video collective, which was uploaded on YouTube on Monday morning, has now more than 1,000 views.
Kinalulungkot ko
Pero ayoko maging diktador. Hindi yan ang gusto ko. Ayoko mamuno o manakop ng kahit na sino.
And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow, 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News. Good evening.